There we go. Okay, sorry about that. There's always something on these shows. We'll start again. My name is Gareth. You're watching the Hub Online Network. We got COVID, flood, and councils today is what we're talking about. If you would like to give me a call and have your say about what's happening this week, yep, that's fixed. Thank you. 778-694-4662. And we will get to your calls if you want to call in. Now, today we're going to talk about catch us up on the numbers from the 5th till today. Those numbers include on Tuesday, May 5th, we had 8 new cases, which is the record low for BC since all this started, which brought our total up to 2,232 cases. On Wednesday, May 6th, we had 23 new cases, which is more normal for what we got going on. And today, we are sitting at 33 new cases, which brings us totally up to 2,288, which breaks down to 865 in Vancouver, 1,064 in Fraser Health Region, 126 on the island, 179 in the interior, and 54 in Northern Health. With 1,512 people that have recovered, so congratulations to those people. And there are unfortunately 2 new deaths as of today. And overall, 9 people since Tuesday have passed away due to COVID-19. So our hearts, of course, go out to those families, and hopefully nobody else dies. Of course, that is probably not a realistic hope. Anyway, I digress. So lots of things have been happening this week, such as Prime Minister Justin Trudeau said that the federal government has reached a $4 billion deal with the provinces and territories to top up payments for low-wage essential workers, and is finalizing the details. So the federal government will kick off, or will kick in $3 billion, and the provinces will contribute the rest. Last month, the federal government announced that a plan to boost the salaries of essential workers who make less than $2,500 a month, including those working in long-term care facilities for the elderly, frontline workers in hospitals, and people working in the food industry, was in the works after talks with premiers. So that is huge. So everybody that's making like $15 an hour are going to get a fairly significant pay raise from what it looks like. For working so hard during these times, and those people really deserve it. I know that, like, I'm the shopper in my family, so I see all the people at Safety Mart and the pharmacy, and they all deserve, first applause, and B, they deserve more money. So thank you all of you essential workers that are out there. You're doing a fantastic job. Now, of course, my thing here has sort of mucked around on me. Where are we here? You know what? Okay, so Prime Minister, so another thing that happened was Prime Minister Justin Trudeau dedicated $252 million in federal aid for the agri-food industry on Tuesday in order to help struggling producers and sustain the country's food system during the COVID-19 pandemic. Just less than 1/3 of the supporting funding, $77.5 million, will be given to food processors, and the millions can be spent by companies on personal protective equipment for workers, upgrading their facilities to better promote current public health recommendations, or expanding their processing capacities. Trudeau says. So now, that being said, that's fantastic news for the agri-food industry, but the agri-food industry asked for $2 billion, or $1.7 billion, and what they're getting is $252 million. So that is a fraction of what is being asked for. Still, $252 million sounds like a lot, but when you spread that out over the whole country, and I haven't heard too many. I haven't heard any what's sort of come out of this yet, and once I do, I'll of course keep you all posted at home. Raven, if you're watching, this is a good time to call in, please. So, the John Horgan has, as of yesterday, put out a thing talking about slowly reopening everything up in BC. There has been a little bit of pushback on this. I mean, we're still getting 30-ish cases a day right now, 33 as of today. I think that this might have been a better go around when we were only having 8 cases, if that was sustainable. New Brunswick is on day 19 of no cases, and they're still on lockdown. But they're talking about opening things up. So what does that look like for us? Well, they're talking about 4 different phases of opening up. And I'm sure that people have heard about this already, but so in mid-May, they're going to do some elective surgeries. Dentistry, physiotherapy, registered massage therapy, and chiropractors can open. Physical therapy, speech therapy, and similar things along those lines. Some things in the retail sector can open up. Hair salons, barber shops, other personal services can open up. In-person counseling, restaurants, cafes, pubs, if there are sufficient distancing measures. Now, all of this being said, what they're hoping to do is have like less than 50 people in the pubs, and then in smaller spaces, no more than 6 people. So all of these things have to be taken with the fact that it's not just going to be open up and have.
Good, Garrett. How are you doing today?
Oh, I'm living the dream.
Living the dream. That's a great answer. I'm glad to hear.
So what's new and exciting in your world?
Well, it's really nice out today, and I am happy about that. We had like a week of solid rain and kind of dreary weather, so I'm excited that my plants are getting some sun, and I could use the vitamin D too. So what about you? How's Ashcroft?
Well, Ashcroft seems to be doing well. Nice and sunny here. The flooding stopped in Cache Creek, which I'm going to get to later in the show. So, yeah.
Yes, I'm curious for an update about the flooding because, as you know, it's been going on around 100 Mile House too. I don't know if you heard, but our main park actually closed. I believe it was at the end of last week.
Oh, really?
Yeah, Centennial Park there. So there's a waterfall actually just above the park, and I believe it's actually Bridge Creek that runs through the park, and it's a beautiful creek. Typically there's a few bridges that you can use to walk over the creek. When I was a little girl, everyone used to swim in it, but I'm not sure that happens as much now. Anyway, in the past few weeks, it's turned into kind of a lake.
Oh, wow. You should get a canoe and just go for a boat ride.
Yeah, I actually saw a friend in gumboots packing her brother across it, and, you know, I was really tempted to go and do something funny, and then I thought, I better not, I'm an adult now.
Were there any businesses or houses affected by the flooding, or just the park?
Well, you know what, there have been a lot of places affected by flooding, and I think most of those places are residents who are already, they have homes on floodplains, so this is something that they've likely experienced before. I know that it was happening a bit out on Horse Lake, which is really close to the main town of 100 Mile House, for anyone who isn't familiar. My grandma lives out there, and it's about a 5-minute drive from town. And I know that, as we talked about previously, I think it was a couple weeks ago now that Pressy Lake started having some flooding, and just a few days ago, I believe Dawson Road Maintenance was able to get a couple culverts in there to address that issue so that residents can easily access their property there.
But there was no sandbagging or dike making or anything like that?
I have seen people posting about sandbags. I think especially in Williams Lake, there was more of a need. 150 Mile. In the South Caribou, there's been a lot of flooding, just as well as in Cache Creek. I haven't been personally affected by it because I planned ahead this year. The last year, I'm not sure if I've mentioned this before, but my garage actually flooded.
Oh, no.
And that was probably just because you know, I live alone, and I hadn't experienced that much snow melt. We're talking like quite a few feet. The snow piles the winter before were higher than me. I'm not very tall, but they were still big snow piles. And so when they melted, they just rushed my garage and my yard. And this year I made a little creek sort of diversion thing with the rocks, like my dad used to do on the farm when I was little.
Nice.
And that got the job done. So not necessarily sandbags, but I think a lot of people are having to take two tractors and all sorts of methods to, get by when it's such high melt, and especially now that it's getting hot out, it's only going to increase for a little while here.
So I follow you, of course, on Twitter and on Facebook. I'm wondering your take on the slow opening of the province.
Well, you know what? I think, I don't want to speak for anyone else, but I would say that I had mixed reactions to it. I think my initial reaction when the news came out yesterday was it felt a little quick, and it felt a little bit, just felt like a rapid sort of string of announcements. And then my second immediate reaction was excitement, because just why wouldn't you be excited for the world to get a little bit back to what it used to be like? I mean, I don't want to see us go back to exactly what we were, but I'm certainly eager to see my family if I can, if it's safe to do so. And I'm certainly eager to socialize with more than just strangers, although that has been nice during these restrictions. What about you, Gareth? How did you feel about it?
Well, I'm in theory not supposed to give my opinion.
But you always do.
But what I'm going to say is I find it interesting that once one country had said that they're going to open things up, there was sort of a domino effect around the world. And now everybody's kind of opening up at the same time. So it to me sounds interesting how it's all sort of everything. Yeah, that's kind of my thought process on it. But that's not my opinion. That's just facts from what I see on the internet.
Yeah, that's a fair observation, right? I feel that you're more than allowed to give your observation, because sometimes we all observe things or we notice things that someone else might not have noticed. I definitely noticed that too. And I don't know if it's world leaders, peer pressure, you could say that, or everyone just following suit, a domino effect, as you said. But I just hope that we are all able to keep on doing well. I think BC has just done quite well compared to other provinces, even in Canada, so I've been impressed with that. I will say that I've seen a lot of people, even friends and family members, or extended family, etc., whoever, loved ones, I'll say, I've seen them breaking the rules during quarantine. And in the beginning I was saying stuff, and then I kind of just stopped, because everyone can make their own choice, and it is up to everyone individually to gauge their risks and gauge their priorities. So I think that's just how we have to move forward, and do our best, though, to think of everybody else, not just ourselves.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah.
So what else is going on in 100 Mile in Clinton?
I saw something really nice the other day. I'm not sure if I know the firefighters in Ashcroft and Cache Creek are always busy, and yet they somehow still find time to do really nice things, volunteering efforts and events. And I know they get together and collaborate a lot too. And something that was cool here in 100 Mile House is I think it's the volunteer firefighters. I think they're all volunteer at the fire department that's right across from the hospital up on Horse Lake Road. It was a whole day, and they had volunteer firefighters geared up, running on a treadmill. Oh. And that might sound like, what the heck? Why were they doing that? And of course, you click on it because you're intrigued. Why are these firefighters in such full gear, so hot, running on a treadmill in public? The treadmill was literally on the grass, out for everyone to see, right by a main highway, basically, or a main path. And so once you click, you find out that the reason they're doing this is they're actually committing to show their support for essential workers, even though they themselves are, if you think about it, pretty much essential workers too, but they're showing their support for the hospital right across from them, and for all those people working so hard to keep us safe and keep testing available. So that was their creative way to, I guess, show their support, and I thought that was really cool.
One could say that they were hot firefighters.
Yeah, they actually, I don't know if you've seen it, but they made They made a calendar this past summer, and that was all for charity as well, I believe.
Right.
So they do lots of cool stuff for a good cause. My suggestion was, if you guys have the hot firefighters again, they had men and women, just add some cats, and then I will buy the calendar.
Oh, there you go.
That sounds like a good idea. Firefighters saving cats? Who wouldn't want to buy that calendar?
Well, cats in yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, exactly. And maybe you could give maybe half it with the SPCA or something. I know animals are always in need. That's my little shout out for the day, or my idea.
So the other thing that I have seen you comment on is, and I've talked about this a couple of times, and I do have another bit about this later on in the show, but what is your hot take on the gun thing going on?
As I commented, I think everyone probably would have saw, that was last week or the week before when the announcement was made.
That was last Friday.
Last Friday. So last Friday when the announcement was made by Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, I think I commented something along the lines of just expressing my support. I think I may have said that I am proud of our government, and I actually am, because I can't take my words back. Probably the week prior to that, I had said to you that I do hope that in the wake of the tragedy in Nova Scotia that there would be some sort of measures taken by our government, because that was a part of the platform that the Liberals were voted in on. They promised more gun control, and so you can't necessarily promise something and have everybody vote you in, whoever voted for the Liberals, and then not follow through. So it's nice to see your government commit to a promise and follow through, especially in the wake of something so awful. I obviously have grown up around guns, so I understand the concern of gun owners not wanting any rights or freedoms taken away. But I do think that the way in which our government has gone about it is pretty fair. And I also think that we just have to recognize that things like what happened in Nova Scotia, they are less likely to happen when we have these rules in place.
Good answer.
That's my spiel.
Right on.
Yeah.
What else? What?
Well, I won't ask you your opinion since you...
Well, the thing I find, the fact that I find interesting, and this isn't a positive or negative, this is just something that is a fact based off of articles on the internet, is the lack of debate and vote in Parliament.
Yes.
So if I had to say anything about it, it would be about that. Not that I don't disagree with the fact that they're wanting to take the guns off the streets. I just find that one thing interesting about this.
It was, you could say, one could perhaps say that it was also sudden, like the announcements yesterday.
Right.
Yeah, I think that's a fair observation too.
Yeah.
Hey, while I'm on the air, I have to give another shout out to, I love giving shout outs to locals who are incredible, and I think I missed a week of shouting out village councillor in Clinton, Sandy Barrage. She's up to good stuff again for her community. So Mother's Day is this weekend in Canada. I know it's different in other parts of the world, but for Canadians, we're celebrating Mother's Day this weekend. And Sandy posted on Facebook, as she often does when she has a great idea. And she said that, hey, instead of posting, well, not instead, but in addition to posting hearts or rainbows or butterflies in your window or messages of support, how about we do flowers in anticipation of Mother's Day? So people in Clinton are virtually drawing flowers, and lots of people are planting flowers and, you know, bringing their garden out to front so everyone can kind of enjoy it and getting into the spirit of Mother's Day. And the local Communities in Bloom Association is doing a little something along those lines, too, for the kids, and it's called Plant a Little Sunshine. So Clinton's getting in the spirit of summer, which is kind of nice when things are still a little weird and a little uncertain. It's nice to celebrate the sunshine.
And happy Mother's Day to all the mothers out there in advance of the actual day itself. What are we looking at? It's the 7th, so that's on Sunday?
It is. It's on Sunday the 10th. And happy Mother's Day to all the mothers. Happy Mother's Day to my mom. Lisa. She has been an awesome mom. Happy Mother's Day to all the mothers who, and women especially. A lot of women in our lives are incredible and don't get the recognition for being a mother to, maybe a neighbor kid or their niece or nephew or whatever. Mothers are great.
Yes, they are.
They are. We should celebrate them every day.
Well, that's just not fair.
Well, yeah, true. Celebrate your mom, celebrate your dad, celebrate the people you love every day.
Yes, that is a good statement there.
Yeah, that's more fair.
Anything else going on with you these days?
Well, Clinton did another birthday parade.
Oh, the teachers did a parade today in Cache Creek. They drove around and waved at all their students.
Oh, that's funny because Clinton did that too a couple weeks ago, and I think they're doing it every Thursday.
Oh, well.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Well, this is the first time I've seen it, but.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's.
Yeah, I think Clinton has been. Maybe they're doing it in connection because I know that ASS and DSS have a pretty close collaboration, just because they're in the same district.
Right.
Yeah, definitely. We always had a close connection. David Stoddart and Ashcroft, and I think Desert Sands is the same, right?
Yes.
Pretty well connected too.
Yes.
Cool. Well, that's so good to hear that the teachers are giving back and connecting with their kids. I know that teachers mean a lot to their students.
Well, especially in this time when you can't really connect with them too well.
Yeah, exactly. They're big role models, and not even just the education, but suddenly not seeing that person you're used to spending such a huge part of your day with all the time could be really hard for a student, I imagine.
I've seen a lot of current teachers quit because of their students now. Meaning that now that the kids are home, parents are now the teachers, and that those teachers have quit because they can't handle it. So I say, good job on actual teachers for putting up with everybody else's kids.
Yeah, exactly. And good job on all the parents who are having to step up as teachers too. I know that the restrictions, I'm not totally sure what that's going to mean yet. I know that part of the changes announced yesterday do involve, easing those restrictions in school, but it does still seem like that's a bit different in every district and in every area.
Yeah. Yeah, there's lots of different rules going on, and nothing is technically mandatory. So my understanding of it is, yes, they're opening classrooms up in a couple of weeks for the end of the school year, but you don't have to send your kid, and there's going to be lots of rules based off of what the kids are allowed to do, when they're allowed to actually go, all sorts of stuff. So.
Yeah, so it's definitely, I guess that's to be expected, but it is also so weird. It's always weird. We have to kind of just take all of these announcements as they come because it's such a new world. If you think back 20 years ago, did you ever think kids would be spending, such a huge amount of time at home and we'd all be teaching them and the world would be in this state? Not
if it wasn't for a strike or something. I wasn't thinking...
Yeah.
Because you kept hearing about like Ebola and Zika virus and H1N1 and all that stuff, and none of those did this.
No, that's the thing. I can even think of a time in Clinton, for example. This is kind of weird. I'm sure it's happened in other small schools, though, but there's been times where a bad flu, like when H1N1 came, and I don't know if it was H1N1, but one time we all got really, really sick, and basically everyone in the school was sick. So I swear there was maybe like 2 or 3 kids who came to school and just worked in the library with a support teacher for a couple days, and that might have been the closest thing, or the time when we had the extended strike, and I think it was basically a month of no school.
Yep.
But this is different, and this is something that kids are. I saw someone say that for parents, it's really important how you use this time and how you talk to your kids about this, because it can either be a traumatic event for them, or it can be kind of an opportunity to connect with their family and maybe grow and learn some new skills. But it's all about how you spend that time.
Very good point.
Mm-hmm.
What else you got? Anything?
Well, just shout out to Jackie Wilkinson. I believe she turned 75 on May 5th, and she was the lady who had a birthday parade, which was really, really beautiful. That's on the Clinton Facebook parade. Someone actually filmed it. It's so cute. It might bring a tear to your eye. It's just absolutely adorable to see her smile and just how happy she was to connect with people and have everybody cheering for her in their vehicles. It was really neat.
Well, happy belated birthday.
Yeah, happy belated birthday, Jackie, and happy birthday to anybody else who's been spending birthdays maybe alone.
Did you? Sorry, I'm gonna. You said May the 5th, which reminds me of May the 4th be with you. Did you see that story about the lady in Calgary?
The lady in Calgary.
I'm
not sure that I did.
In the stormtrooper costume?
No, I don't think
No?
I saw that story. What was that story?
So there's a bar in Calgary that's slowly opening up, and they made some new rules that so some people can go in, and they put one of the employees into a stormtrooper costume on May the 4th, so it's the Star Wars Day, and they gave her a blaster, plastic blaster, and they put her on the road. Somebody calls the police saying that there's a person in a costume with a gun, and the cops show up and get her to get on her knees, and she falls forward and smushes her face in the helmet and gives herself a bloody nose.
Oh no!
Yeah, so now there's a big thing that the cops didn't handle the situation properly.
Oh no!
So if you get
I have to look this up.
Yeah.
I did not hear about that.
Yeah, it's pretty well. It was pretty big news a couple days ago.
That doesn't sound very Canadian of the RCMP, but I'm sure they just didn't know what was going on.
Right.
Oh boy.
So.
That's a good story. Thanks for sharing that one.
But,
wow. There's been a lot of interesting and special events this week. While we're at dates, I also just want to give a shout out. I believe it was also May the 5th that was just a national day of recognition for missing and murdered Indigenous women and girls.
Yep.
I think it was May 5th. And so we were asked to wear red, if you like, just to show your support and recognition on that day for something that's still definitely a big problem in our country and our province. So I certainly wore red. I hope others did. And yeah, that's just another cool day that happened recently that we should pay attention to as well.
That's a very good shout out. And actually, thank you to Joyce Buckland, who shared a photo of her. She didn't wear the dress, I don't think, but she hung it in her tree. It was a red dress that she hung on her tree. So
that reminds me, actually, shout out to Joyce. That's so great that she did that, because I believe that's actually someone started the red dress and it's symbolic. And that the first time I saw it was at UBC. I came out of my classes walking to another class across campus, as you do, and I was just overwhelmed. There was probably hundreds of them.
Oh yeah.
In the trees, in the shrubs and hanging, and they have big trees at UBC, so I don't know how they got them up there, but it was really beautiful to see that, and a bit haunting as well.
Wow. Well, there you go.
Yeah. It's a cool tidbit. Thanks to, was it Joyce?
Yeah, her name is Joyce Buckland.
Joyce Buckland. That's great.
A citizen of Ashcroft. She's the lady that hooked up our egg extravaganza at Easter.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, so she's in all sorts of stuff.
She's kind of the Sandy Barrage, you might say.
Yeah, there you go. That's a very good comparison.
With the good ideas and the wonderful volunteering.
Right?
I love women like that.
But I'm going to let you go now.
Awesome.
We'll do this
I look
again
forward
next
to hearing
week.
Your updates. Perfect.
Okay?
Well, you have a great rest of your afternoon, Gareth.
You as well, Raven. Thanks for phoning in.
Yes. Talk to you soon.
All right.
Bye now.
Bye. And of course, that was Raven, a journalist from 100 Mile, and she covers 100 Mile in Clinton. So thank you, Raven, for phoning in. And just to get back to now phase 1 of our reopening strategy, office-based work sites are going to reopen. Again, all of these things have the caveat of extra cleaning, safe distances, and limited people. But that means that we can get fully staffed back here at the... I have a new thing about this. So we're the Hub Online Network. I'm calling us the Honline Network. Let that sink in. But hopefully we can get Jessica back into the office and we can start making more content for you. So some recreation slash sports places can open. Outdoor low contact sport is preferable. Most provincial parks will open as of May 14th. That's my friend's birthday. Shout out to Will Chard. Happy birthday, buddy. Beaches and outdoor spaces are going to reopen. Transit services are going to reopen more fully. And childcare is going to open more. In June, hotels and resorts can reopen. More parks, including some overnight camping as of June 1st. The film industry is scheduled to restart hopefully in June and July. So to everybody that that I know that works in the film industry, hopefully you guys can get back to it and start making those shows, because we're going to need more content made for our televisions. In July, some entertainment such as movie theaters and the symphony, but no large concerts. I'm not sure how they're going to do that, having people in places in large crowds. But you need more. So the Hub Online Network says you need more people interaction during the day, I think. Yes, me as well. In September, K-12 education with only a partial return to school this year. Yes, again, as Raven and I talked about, they are talking about opening up the schools again for the very last 2 or 3 weeks of the school year. This would include plans for keeping kids spaced apart, playing outside in some very, very 1 or 2 person groups, having half the class come in the morning, half the class in the afternoon, but none of that is mandatory. So if you do not feel like you feel safe sending your kid to school, you do not have to. It will not affect the end of the year. Again, everybody this year passes. I think this is just a way to bring a little bit of normalcy back into children's lives. But again, September K-12 starts back up, and post-secondary education with a mix of online and in-class instruction. So what a lot of people are doing are changing the way that they think about how to do things. So a lot of businesses may look at if they are profitable by having people at home. There's been lots of talks about offices that might just stay empty because this has been such a good way to just cut costs, keep people at home. If you don't need to go in, you don't have to go in, that sort of thing. But surgeries that were postponed due to COVID-19 pandemic will be starting back up as part of a massive surgical renewal plan. British Columbians have stepped up to the challenge of COVID-19 by making sacrifices, including thousands of people who have waited or postponed elective surgeries. This has been very difficult for people and their families, says Premier John Horgan, but these sacrifices have helped flatten the curve in BC, and now we can move forward safely, getting people the surgeries that they've been waiting for. Now, keep in mind that the flattening of the curve does not mean that people will not get sick. The flattening of the curve was to make it so the medical industry, the hospitals, were not inundated with patients. They are still expecting people to get sick from COVID-19. So please still keep your distance, keep that 6 feet apart, and stay safe out there. So that is that. Let's see what else. Do I have anything else on COVID-19? I think that's all I got. So that is the update for COVID-19. Now let's talk about flooding. So in Cache Creek, flooding was a big problem over the last couple of weeks. Luckily, it only came up over the road a little bit by the fire hall, but no one was massively wrecked by flooding. There was some flooding in some properties by the Brookside campsite, but Cache Creek itself was not hit as hard as it was back in 2017 or 2016. But we were under a state of emergency. Now, as of May 5th, whereas several flooding events in the village of Cache Creek, and whereas the flooding of emergency is no longer requires prompt coordination of BC or specific regulation of personnel or the property to protect. Sorry, this is really small. Let me make this bigger. Bloop. Okay, and whereas the flooding emergency no longer requires prompt coordination of action or special regulation of persons or property or protect the health, safety, and welfare of people to limit damage of properties, there has been a cancellation of the state of local emergency. So thank you to the Cache Creek Village for making sure that everybody was safe during that time. There was lots of stuff going on over the last 2 weeks. There was lots of riprap placed, some evacuations put in order. You can of course see all of the reports that we did in previous shows, but now the local state of emergency is done. That being said, there was, where is it here? There it is. The village of Cache Creek is no longer in a state of local emergency. However, water levels in the Bonaparte River have stabilized. They will stay at their current level before lowering. So leave your sandbags in place and keep children and pets away from the banks of the river and creek. There are no evacuation alerts in order currently in effect. Village Public Works staff continue to monitor water levels and bank erosion in the river and at the creek. This is the last update that will be issued in regards to the 2020 Cache Creek FreshNet. Reminders, bank erosion is still a problem. Stay 10 feet away from the water's edge. The village will be conducting some remediation work in the river and creek over the next few weeks. The village of Cache Creek is still monitoring the situation and will take any actions necessary if the situation along the river changes. And remember to maintain COVID-19 physical distancing and protocols. Keep your distance and wash your hands. So that is the update from the village of Cache Creek. And thank you everyone that helped with sandbagging. I'm living in the Sage and Sands Mobile Home Park, where we had a big sandbagging group. About 10, 15 people showed up and helped out with that. So thank you all very much. And I know that that's the case at the other sites where sandbags were used. So thank you everyone that came out and helped during that time. And again, thank you to the council and all the workers of Cache Creek that helped with the riprap and the fixing of the dikes and keeping everybody safe. It was a fantastic job and it kept everybody out of the water. Talking about water and safe places, the Ashcroft Terminal is trying to make a working group to talk about the slough. If you are what they're looking for is a representative from the Village of Cache Creek Council, a representative from the Village of Ashcroft Council, one representative from the Bonaparte Indian Band, from the Ashcroft Indian Band, 3 members at large from the community, and 3 representatives from the Ashcroft Terminal. Now what they want to do is sit down and identify potential issues associated with restricted access, generate ideas about alternatives to riverfront access on Ashcroft Terminal private property, share information with the wider communities about the alternatives, although they have denied us, the Hub Online Network, a seat at that table. We did ask to join. They've told us no. They don't feel that people will be willing to speak openly about their ideas if we're there. We'll have to wait for them to come out with what they feel is the appropriate information to give to the community. The purpose of the working group is to identify potential issues associated with restricted access. So if you are one of those people and you would like to sign up, you can get a hold of the Ashcroft Terminal. If you go to their Facebook page, they have a link where you can apply to be one of the people to sit in on the round table. So if you're passionate about being able to go down to the slough and you want to be a part of making that a reality, sign up, and that would be fantastic if we could have a safe way to get down to the water. Now, one of the things that we at the Hub Online Network have been, or the Honline Network, I got to remember to use that, has been doing for the last 10 months or so now, is filming council meetings. We film both Cache Creek and Ashcroft, which is difficult sometimes as they're both on the same day. One's at 4:30, one's at 7, unless there's a committee of the whole meeting, which happens at, I guess depends on the week. Could happen at 3:30 or could happen at 6. Anyway, I just wanted to catch you guys up on what is going on in our councils right now. And so I'm going to go back just a couple of meetings since the middle of COVID-19, or I guess at the beginning. So March 23rd, I'm just going to briefly go over the agendas of what happened in those meetings, fill you guys in. So just the big things that came out of the 23rd meeting in Ashcroft was, where are we here? So there was an economic development and tourism strategy and implementation matrix. So the Village of Ashcroft is trying to come up with a plan to bring in an economic development strategy that involves tourism. And one of those things that they chose to do was go to the Northern Development Institution of Technology, I believe, but it's NDIT, and they went for a grant. And the grant covers an economic capacity fund. So what they chose to do with this, it was a $50,000 grant that they went for, and they did get it. And what they've chosen to do is take $25,000 to hire somebody to be the economic development and tourism strategy person. So that person comes up with a plan. And then they want to spend the other $25,000 of the grant to take that plan and put it into action. So that was something that came out of the March 23rd meeting, as well as the outdoor burning bylaw, which they are going to put off. So what happened was Councillor Jonah Anstead put together a presentation about amending the burning bylaw so people can burn in their backyards again. There was a little bit of blowback against that, but they tabled that particular discussion until after COVID-19 is done, and that was carried unanimously. And that was really the two big things that came out of March 23rd. Then we move on to April 14th, and so this one was the first meeting that couldn't have any people go to it. So this is strictly, and all of these meetings are on the Hub Online Network YouTube channel and Facebook page. So if you want to go check those out, you can go and see what you missed. So they discussed having a virtual town hall, which we did this last Monday, which I'll get to in a minute. Sorry, I had a couple of things. So they said yes to the curling club upgrades. Now there were a couple of different levels of things to repair the curling club building, and they chose sort of not the lowest end, but not the highest end, but sort of in the middle. None of the choices really fixed all of the problems with the curling club building. This one solved up to $152,900 worth of issues that this building has, and they passed that unanimously. What else was on that one? That was really the big one. That was the big one for that particular thing. At the last meeting, which was on April 27th, and again, no one from the public was allowed to go, but it is on our YouTube channel. The Economic Development Recovery Select Committee. So what this is the Village of Ashcroft is, again, very much like the SLU. They want to put together a committee of people, both of council and with members of the public, business owners, that sort of thing. And they want to have people talk about how to get Ashcroft going again. Now that the province is looking at opening up a little bit, how can we open up Ashcroft in a safe way? So again, if you would like to know more information about that, you feel like you have a lot of input that you would like to put in, get a hold of the Village of Ashcroft and see if you can't get on this short list for that. But the Ashcroft Village has been quite active. Lots of things going on. They did again have a virtual town hall on Monday, if you missed that. We did it live. There was a few technical difficulties. We tried out some new equipment that didn't go over very well. But I think it was a success for a first go of having our equipment outside of the studio. And what they did is Yogi Bala, the CFO, shared the 5-year financial plan for Ashcroft. It sounds like it's fairly sound. They have passed a thing about not having the 2.5% tax increase in Ashcroft in light of COVID-19, trying to give people a little bit of a tax break. So that's really what's been going on in Ashcroft. The questions that we had on Monday were more about the SLU and about the walkways on Evans Road. So again, if you want to see that one is specifically on our Facebook page right now. It will be on our YouTube channel eventually. I just haven't gotten around to it. There's been a lot of work things that I've been trying to catch up on. But moving on to the village of Cache Creek, they do things a little bit differently over there. So Ashcroft sort of talks about just what they're doing, and if they're not doing something, they don't really bring it up. Whereas Cache Creek runs on a committee report basis. So if there is no, and what that means is they have 7 committees, and each committee has, I'll get to your thing in just one second, Danielle. Each committee is run by 2 councillors, although Annette Pittman is not on any of the committees. And each councillor, or each grouping of councillors is in charge of one of the committees. Now there's 7 committees in total, and in a lot of instances, there is no meeting, no report. So for example, business, so where am I here? Economic development, no meeting, no report. And this is going back to March 23rd. Budget and administrative services, no meeting, no report. Policy and bylaw review is the utility discount extension. So based off of COVID-19, there was an extension put out for utility payments. And a seniors discount waiver. Also due to COVID-19, seniors discount can be extended. Public works and community facilities, no meeting, no report. Protective services, no meeting, no report. And intergovernment relations, no meeting, no report. There was and so that was pretty much the March 23rd meeting. March 27th. So the middle of April meeting actually didn't happen at all. This was in the middle of the pandemic and of course the start of flooding, and there was no meeting in Cache Creek. And then on April 27th, pretty much all of the committees had no meeting, no report. It was a 7.5 minute meeting, which is very quick. They, however, did all thank each other for doing a great job in Cache Creek. And so that was very interesting. So go check those out. Again, all of those meetings are on our YouTube channel. And Danielle says, yes, backyard burning again would be awesome as long as you have a running water source bucket nearby and very low flames and monitored at all times. Yes, that would be a great way to do things. But if you have an opinion, you should go and actually talk to the village and have your say and make sure that you put that across to them, Danielle. So then, since I talked about the villages, I want to talk about just the last couple of things that our MLA and our MP have been talking about. So based off of Twitter, here's what MLA Jackie Taggart has shared. This excerpt is linked to a news article from the Vancouver Sun. So of course Jackie Taggart is the MLA that does live in Ashcroft. And we do have a few interviews with her as well. Again, go to YouTube, check it out. She shared, she didn't post this herself, but she shared that BC's opposition Liberal Party is calling on the NDP government to suspend the provincial sales tax, the hotel tax, and the employer health tax for up to 3 months to help the economy recover from COVID-19. Opposition leader Andrew Wilkinson outlined the measures Tuesday in a letter to Premier John Horgan, in which he praised the government's response to the coronavirus and called on it to be aggressive in helping rebuild the economy. So that is an excerpt from the Vancouver Sun article based off of something that Jackie Taggart shared. So thank you, Jackie, for being on top of everything that's going on in the Legislative Assembly. Now, to also have something that Brad Viss did, he talked about this is a minute and a half. I can't share the video, I can share the audio, so I will make sure that you guys can hear that. And then, so I'm just going to play what he said, if I can get the audio going here. Come on. Maybe I can't do it. Where's my audio. Man. I'll do it next time. I don't know what's wrong with this. I just moved the computer, so I'm sure it's something that I've done. Anyway, he goes on to say that he did up a petition in regards to the firearms that, of course, Raven and I talked about earlier. He says all sorts of things about this petition, and you can find what he says on his Facebook page and his Twitter account. It's the last thing that he posted because this came out this morning. So that is what's going on with Brad Viss. He has a petition going on about what is going on with the guns. So moving on from there, what else do I have to share with you guys? Unfortunately, Graffiti Days. It is with regret that we want to inform everyone that Graffiti Days is canceled for this year. Over the years, many obstacles have arisen that the team has overcome, but we felt that this year, with the current public health environment, we should err on the side of caution. We hope that you all stay safe and look forward to seeing everyone next year. So Graffiti Days for this year is canceled, unfortunately. And Thunder in the Valley Drag Races follows the same story. Sorry to inform everyone of this very upsetting news, but because of the COVID-19 threat to large amount of population events, we at Thunder in the Valley Raceway in Cache Creek, BC, have been informed that I will not be able to host any racing for this season. Once again, I am very sorry for this inconvenience. I hope all racers and spectators can understand the dilemma. Take care, all. I'm thinking of you, Dwight Taves, the person that is putting on the Thunder in the Valley drag races. And so, yes, unfortunately, those two things are done for this season, just like so many other things going on right now. But let's end this show on you know what? Let's talk about this first. This is the COVID-19 helpline. So if you are at home and you need some help, if you need food, supplies, or anything like that delivered to you, your pharmaceuticals, your mail, if you're lonely and just need somebody to chat to, if you need spiritual support, call 250-457-3422. Again, that number is 250-457-3422. This is the Ashcroft Cache Creek helpline. And if you need more information, you can go to Cache Clinton COVID-19 Community Info Board. There's lots of really good information there for people about how you can get a hold of government finances, support groups, that sort of thing. So this is put on by the Ashcroft and District Hospital Auxiliary, the Ashcroft Hub, Ashcroft Moving Forward, Better at Home, CRS, Elizabeth Fry Society, Equality Project, Hospice, Hospital Friends and Family, the Hub Online Network, MLA Jackie Taggart, MP Brad Viss, Sage Hills Church, St. Albans Church, and of course the villages of Ashcroft and Cache Creek. There are many volunteers willing and waiting to help you. There's lots of resources out there waiting to help you if you need it. So please do not hesitate to call 250-457-3422. Now, on a positive note, before we end here, everyone loves a birthday, and so this is from the Ashcroft Cache Creek Journal. Everyone loves a birthday, and this week, the Ashcroft Cache Creek Journal, the oldest continuously published weekly newspaper in BC, turns 125. And they have an article about their first story that came out in 1895. So that is awesome. Happy birthday to the Ashcroft Cache Creek Journal. Barbara, you run a tight ship. Good job. Thank you very much for all you do. And thank you very much to everybody that likes, shares, and subscribe and shares these videos. You guys are doing awesome. You're helping us. Thank you all so much for all the time and energy that you're putting in just to watching me sit here and talk to you. Keep up the good work, and I will maybe change. Let me know in the comments if you like my background right now. I don't know if I necessarily like it, so I'll maybe change it up again. But please do that, and we'll talk to you guys on Monday next week, as I will not be around tomorrow. So because I have eye surgery going on, it's actually happening finally. So maybe I'll be able to see you on Monday. Thank you, Raven, for calling in. Thank you, Jessica, for being in the chat and adding all the extra information. And we'll see you guys on Monday. Have a safe weekend. We'll talk to you soon.